Now oneness has no opposite. Now how many of you have wished to be understood by others? And what is that? Now feel it through oneness. Your heart is crying to understand itself. You see? Did you ever wish that you are more respected? See, throughout the years, I received so many clients. And I got some people, especially women, who felt that they weren't respected, either by their husband, not listened to, or by others. And then as we went into it, we'll find that they did not respect themselves. Oneness. Please see that very clearly. That however you feel, want others to be, is how you are to yourself. If we are very concerned, like people who are suffering or people who are not happy with life, and they take out the spiritual life, they have a great need to be saviors, to fix other people's suffering. But why are they so concerned with people who are suffering? Because they themselves are suffering. And by fixing others, somehow I can fix myself. But they don't see it that way. Now, when we begin to see oneness, that everything is one, then immediately we complete the circle. How many of us really believe that you are a separate individual? Separate individual. Most people do. Therefore, there is the fear of death. You see? Why? Because in oneness, please understand this, in oneness, existence and non-existence are both the same. Can the mind understand this? No way. The mind can't understand that. Because the mind is thought. The mind is memory. It can only understand that which it has experienced in the past. It cannot understand anything that is higher than its own experience. So therefore, you might say, but Burt, you're talking in a way that I cannot understand it with the mind. True. These words will not reach your mind. But the whole point of Satsang is that we begin to listen until there is a resonance. And the heart is saying, well, I don't understand what is being said, but I resonate with it. There is something deeper in me that knows. And here is the oneness again. The paradox of oneness. That as long as you think you know something, you really don't know. But the moment you realize you really don't know, because there's nothing to know, there's only oneness, right? What is there to understand? There's nothing to understand about life. It's all one. Well, the moment you begin to see that it's all one, and therefore there's nothing you can understand because it's a mystery, you begin to understand. But you begin to understand deep down, not through words, not through showing that you think you know something, but it's a deeper understanding, a deeper knowing. See, and that is what's most important, because whatever you know in your heart cannot be touched once you recognize it. But that's another thing about recognition too, which I'd like to address, brings us back to oneness. You see, we think there's something to attain, we think there's somewhere to go, we think we have to realize something. How often people ask me, Burt, I understand you intellectually, but I do not realize it. I do not feel it. Well, we're going to address that. You see? Because, again, there's nothing to realize. Now, see, last week somebody wrote me this, and I'd like to address it again because it's very important right here. This person asked, Dear Sir, Buddha said all sentient beings have Buddha nature. He also said there is no self. If both are true, then who or what is there to realize Buddha nature? If no one is there. That's it. If you realize there's no one there, that's it. There's no one to realize it. So realization means you realize there's no one to realize anything. You see? Now that's a big one for the mind. It's a huge one because it's a mystery. You see? It's a big mystery. You know, Course in Miracles, it's very beautiful too, and I like to quote the beginning. It says, the opposite of love is fear, but that which is all-encompassing can have no opposite. We cannot conceive of anything that has no opposite. You see? So when we think of love and fear, now of course it's relating to love as emotional love, okay? Because that which is all-encompassing is really love itself, but love is a mystery. See, we think of love as something, you know, and if you want to understand oneness, I'll say, well, then good luck. There's no way that you can understand oneness. But can you begin to feel it? Oh, yes. Feel it, of course. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it in a different way. What is love? Oneness. You see? If I can see you as myself because we are one, that's what love is. But you can read all the books in the world, you can study for years, you can take courses on love, you can study all the poetry, you can sing all the songs of love, but until you feel love, you don't know love. Because it has nothing to do with knowing about it intellectually. It is a heart knowing. It is a feeling. But I'm not talking about emotional feeling. It is that connection. You see? It's a type of listening, tuning in, and you begin to realize it. Because tuning in, listening, and love are one and the same. For example, what is listening? A good example is our cat. Now, our cat meows for different reasons. And sometimes he meows and Sylvia says, oh, he's hungry. And then he meows and she says, no, he wants to play. It's the same meow. But she understands. Because she loves the cat so much that she listens, and that listening will tell her what the cat is saying. You see? Similarly with a baby. You know, a mother has a baby in her arms and she just loves that baby to pieces. In fact, she forgets herself in loving the child. She knows when it's crying because it has a stomach ache. It's crying because it has teeth problem, or because it's hungry. You see? What makes the mother understand? It is listening. You see? Because the baby is not saying anything. But when you listen, you begin, well, this is when you begin to understand. You listen. When you're in the silence in nature, you go on top of a mountain or you go out in the, and there is that silence and you listen to it. And within that silence, of course I cannot explain it because it has no words, but there is a resonance. There is a connection. There is a feeling of oneness. Whenever you're totally happy, you are one with whatever is. That's called love. That's called egolessness. You see? If you love something so completely that you become it, that's oneness. Oneness with that. You see? But the natural understanding of oneness is not with an object. This is when subject and object become one. There is no subject and object in oneness. There is only is.